Hi, my name's Frances Houghton, and I'm very pleased to present to you my new book, The Veteran's Tale, British Military Memoirs of the Second World War. I'm going to start by saying very enthusiastically that I think it's a very appropriate moment for this book to be out there in the world. We've just celebrated the 75th anniversaries of VE Day, we're commemorating the 80th anniversaries of the Second World War, and a cheery, twinkly-eyed veteran known as Captain Tom has just stolen everybody's heart and become an actual superstar. So it's a good moment to actually be a book about veterans, memory and the Second World War. And The Veteran's Tale examines the war memoirs written and published by British veterans from the Army, the Navy and the RAF. It focuses on the story that these veterans wanted to tell, the experiences and memories of their war that they wanted to put on the record. The core argument of the book is that veteran memoirs are a little bit like chameleons, in that they take their colour from that wider social and cultural setting. What this meant was that veteran memoirs could be used by the veteran as important sites from which he could challenge popular or cultural memories of the Second World War with which he disagreed. And one of my favourite memoirs from writing this book was this one. This is Miles Tripp's The Eighth Passenger. And it was a memoir of Tripp's service as a bomb aimer in a Lancaster aircraft, and he participated in that infamous Allied raid on Dresden in 1945. Of course, the city ended up in a firestorm. When Tripp's memoir was published in 1969, it revealed a man who remained haunted by his wartime experiences, really conflicted by his participation in that raid on Dresden. What fascinated me about this memoir, though, is that it's actually been rewritten twice since then, specifically to challenge what the veteran perceived as the growing vilification of bomber command in popular memory. So he actually rewrote parts of the memoir twice when it appeared in 1985 and 1993 to challenge specifically the critics of bomber command. So as The Veteran's Tale emphasises, published veterans' memoirs weren't just written with the intention of telling an entertaining story or in the hopes of the veteran making a little money, although both of those were true. They were very often written to set the historical record straight, at least the historical record as the veteran saw it. And writing The Veteran's Tale has also critically shaped the research and methodologies for my current research project. As Simon Fellow at the University of Manchester, I'm currently working on a project on medical care and masculine culture in the wartime Royal Navy. And fleeting references in the naval veterans' memoirs when I was writing The Veteran's Tale made me wonder how the ship's doctor felt about his wartime experiences. How did he process the psychological and the emotional impact of practicing medicine in this terribly hostile environment where his life was as much at risk as those of his patients? And I think this speaks to so much of what we're seeing at the moment. You know, we're seeing such dedicated and courageous service from our health workers, and listening to their voices and acknowledging the human being behind the mask, behind the medical identity, is really, really important. So this is very much the kind of broader direction of travel that writing The Veteran's Tale set me off on. I think the book speaks to a number of important current issues. We're very much living at a time where the Second World War represents a political and cultural touchstone in new and increasingly divisive ways. Also, we're seeing that dominant myths and memories of that war are frequently used as a kind of yardstick by which to assess 21st century rights and to shape ideas of belonging in 21st century Britain. As the generation who actually lived and fought through the war increasingly slips away, I think it's essential that we don't let their memories and their experiences also disappear into the shadows. In fact, in all the turmoil of this extraordinary year, very challenging year for all of us, I'd suggest that understanding the power of veterans' voices, whether from military battles or medical battles, is more important than ever. So I very much hope that if you're reading the book, you'll enjoy it. And I also hope that it will help to develop wider understandings of the power of veteran voice, memory and identity in our society today.